After the release of an audio recording this past Saturday morning of a conversation that allegedly included.
There's long been a chorus of criticism surrounding the poor officiating in the WNBA. What many have written off as mere incompetence might, in fact, be something far more sinister. A recently leaked audio recording has suggested that the league itself may be compromised, manipulated from the very top. We're talking about potential interference and corruption stemming directly from the Commissioner's office. This brings fresh context to why Caitlin Clark appears to be singled out time and again. There's now an internal investigation underway to explore these claims. Could this be the real reason the league stays tight-lipped while Caitlin endures targeted aggression on the court? Let's dive deeper. The audio leak implies that a group of referees is allegedly on a secret payroll connected to Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner herself. Reports point to bribes, under-the-table bonuses, and unreported travel stipends following games mired in controversy. The supposed goal? To grant certain players preferential treatment, while others, like Clark, are disregarded. If true, this could be the biggest scandal. No foul was called. The referee turned a blind eye, ignoring not only Clark's reaction, but the protests from the entire Fever bench.
Screening action down low. Clark has to get open. 1 second left. Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud locks her up, and New York comes into Indianapolis.
Yet that single moment held significant weight. Liberty would go on to secure a narrow 90-88 win. In high-stakes games like this, it's hard not to suspect that outcomes may be predetermined. When blatant infractions go uncalled, it doesn't just seem unfair, it feels manipulated. This can't be passed off as simple human error anymore. The frequency of these lapses has become exhausting, especially for Caitlin Clark's growing fanbase. The targeting of Clark dates back to her rookie season, where she's frequently found herself on the receiving end of hard fouls and non-calls. During Game 2 of the WNBA playoffs, the Fever's season ended after an 87-81 loss to the Connecticut Sun. But the main talking point, once again, the officiating. A little over 3 minutes into the first quarter, Clark attempted a deep three-pointer only to be knocked off balance by Dijonai Carrington's aggressive defense. She turned to the officials, clearly expecting a whistle. None came. Then, in a tough 103-88 loss to the Seattle Storm, Clark endured another barrage of physical defense that referees simply ignored. Early in that game, Ezi Magbegor delivered blatant body contact while setting a screen that sent Clark staggering. Still, no whistle, or the moment Clark drove toward the basket, absorbing multiple hits along the way. Again, the official response? Total indifference. This begs a powerful question. Why does it seem like the league is actively working against the one player who's revitalizing it, instead of protecting her? While Clark continues to break viewership records, the WNBA's silence has grown more deafening, because even though her influence is undeniable, the league appears hell-bent on steering the spotlight towards someone else. Amid all the on-court drama, one player seems to remain untouched by physical play or scrutiny. With each passing game, she appears more and more like the league's chosen one. That player? Las Vegas Aces number 22 Aja Wilson. In their last face-off, Fever versus Aces, the WNBA seemingly offered a masterclass in favoritism. Wilson was awarded 13 free throws in that game, nearly more than the entire Fever roster combined. And it wasn't just the numbers. Every time Indiana mounted a comeback, a perfectly timed whistle would slow them down. The WNBA is clearly attempting to manufacture a queen narrative for Wilson and force her into the GOAT conversation. But fans aren't buying it. They know who really moves the needle, and it's not Wilson. Case in point, in a recent game between the Connecticut Sun and Las Vegas Aces, viewership was an embarrassingly low 100,000 viewers. In 2020, for a game involving the so-called best player in the league, that's a disaster. By contrast, Caitlin Clark's lowest viewership this season sits at 580,000. The gap is undeniable. Still, the WNBA seems determined to pitch its tent elsewhere, and unfortunately, it's not in Caitlin Clark's camp. Things have gotten so bad that even coach Stephanie White couldn't remain silent. In post-game interviews, she has publicly criticized the treatment Clark receives. If you are enjoying this video, please subscribe this channel. I really need your support. Thanks. And fans, while not always experts, can tell when something doesn't smell right. The latest theory? Money. Think about it. What's one of the most lucrative ways to profit from sports? Betting. It's highly possible that certain officials may be manipulating outcomes for betting gains. These days, even the smallest play, a single foul or missed call, can have massive financial implications in sports betting markets. The margins are tight, but the payouts? Enormous. Let's not forget, This wouldn't be the first time a basketball referee got caught in a betting scandal. The NBA dealt with it years ago when one of their refs was sentenced to 15 months in prison for providing inside betting tips, many of which involved games he officiated. Though he denied fixing outcomes, his partners told a different story. Most bets were on games he reffed, and they won big. So if it happened in the NBA, what's stopping it from happening in the WNBA? Especially now, with increased attention, more money, and rising stakes. When the trust between players, fans, and referees begins to fracture, a league's entire credibility is at risk. And for the WNBA, which is just starting to command national attention, this could be a devastating blow. Cathy Engelbert's name continues to surface in reports linked to questionable transactions. The referees tied to her have been involved in some of the most controversial no-calls this season. Even if every accusation against Engelbert turns out to be baseless, you have to ask, why has she remained silent? Why hasn't she stepped forward to clear the air? If the leadership of the WNBA can't be trusted, then the integrity of the league is at stake. And fans are starting to demand accountability, including calls for Engelbert's resignation. The longer these concerns linger, the louder those demands will grow. We all hope this is simply a misunderstanding or the result of incompetence, not something worse. But these are no longer just bad officiating calls. This feels like part of a larger, more calculated problem. The WNBA must act swiftly to clean up this growing mess, because time is running out, and the last thing they want is to alienate the financial backers keeping the league afloat. Sponsors shy away from uncertainty, especially when it involves allegations serious enough to warrant federal attention. This becomes even more alarming for a league that prides itself on advancing women's empowerment. Some have even floated the idea that Adam Silver and the NBA should step in to take the reins and reset the course. It might sound like a drastic solution, but at this point, it might be exactly what the WNBA needs. A full leadership overhaul, accountability for referees, a complete cultural reset, and most importantly, fans feeling like their voices finally count, because clearly, something must change, urgently. Right now, the situation looks like this. Fans are frustrated, officials are either missing or manipulating critical calls, and one superstar keeps bearing the brunt while another seemingly benefits from every whistle. Add in leaked tapes, active investigations, and a commissioner who remains completely silent as controversy spreads like wildfire. Hovering over all this is a league trying to grow to earn respect